Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about two themes. One is to be happy all the time, no matter what. And the other thing is the theme of what is addiction in relationship. Like if my goal was to be happy, no matter what happens in the world, then what is addiction? And addiction, I actually come from an addiction background. My primary addiction was food. So and food was a mechanism. And in the places I go to these 12-step groups. Some people are addicted to food, some are addicted to alcohol, some to drugs, some to love addiction, codependency. Some are just gambling. Some are addicted to gambling and just spending money and they can't stop. So, and as a metaphor for all addictions, because my thing was that addiction took me to so much pain that I had to join a spiritual group to gain recovery. And from childhood, I would use food to comfort myself, to give me that feeling of comfort, especially when, actually because I was a food addict, I would use it when I didn't feel good, or if I was anxious, or if things didn't go my way, I would just eat food. And what I found as the years progressed, I needed more food just to get that feeling of comfort. It's like what used to work to give me enough comfort because I wasn't feeling happy enough, it actually escalated. And then later it went on to other addictions that I could get comfort. So it was like food and workaholism and dependency issues, you see. So it was like all of these things. And the thing with addiction, like if my goal is to be spiritually happy no matter what, and for the world not to bring my happiness down, I have to understand what is the ego and what is it that blocks me from being constantly happy no matter what. And what needs to be released is, in my view, is the special magical qualities that I project onto people, places, things, drinks, cakes, and whatever. And if I've been using those things to gain comfort, or to get a sense of love or comfort or safety, or just to feel a bit more happy and perky, then they become things which are, you could say, imbued with magical qualities. And the funny thing is, when you imbue something with magical qualities, you actually do get happy when you have it, which is the thing. Now, one of my teachers, Muji, mentioned Ramana Maharishi, who was a teacher of enlightenment, and he said that if you want something, then it's like a thought that's going in your consciousness, And when you get the thing that you've been wanting, whether it's a Ferrari, a cold beer, a donut, a chocolate biscuit, those thoughts stop. And and then you feel happy. And the reason you feel happy is not because of the biscuit or the alcohol or the donut or whatever. It's happy because you've been wanting it. And now that you got it, your ego goes silent for a while, and you actually get a kind of a high or an extra sense of happiness or comfort or something, or your anxiety leaves you, or you just feel more connecting with people. So that for me, as I was an addict, I needed more and more of the thing just to get happy again if life wasn't going well. So it became a thing. And from what I realized when Muji said that was that it's an illusion. Nothing in the world can make you happy. And actually, when you project something and keep going back to it to make you happy, that's how addiction starts. So the thing to make you happy all the time is is when you have a connection with the source, with the presence within, with the inner happiness. And actually, for that to happen, all the things that the ego has has made special need to be released. Or, like in the Course in Miracles, one of the early lessons for me, and this is like, if you want to be happy all the time, which is enlightenment. Enlightenment is happiness all the time, irrespective of the world. When you transcend the thoughts, the body, the world, the objects within the world, as having that power to make you happy. The Course in Miracles is, and Hawkins taught this as well, the Course in Miracles is spiritual genius, because I think some of the very first lessons in A Course in Miracles are genius, because they sort of say, look around the room and say that everything is meaningless, you know. So, like if I was an addict, and I did do this, I was helping someone release their addiction, and I took them to the place where they could see the thing of their addiction. In this case, it was a food addiction thing. And I got them to look at a packet of biscuits, and then look at and say it's meaningless, and look at the floor for a second and say it's meaningless, then look at the light bulb, and take away that thing that this represents happiness, you know, because they would get this relief every time they would have the food. And then within a short period of time, following a few different spiritual things I told her to do, you know, she had transcended. She could maintain a relatively good spiritual state, and the food wasn't calling her. She didn't have to have the food to be happy or to escape life, you see. Now, so, I mean, transcending an object doesn't mean you can't keep having it, but one of the things to find out, because anything that Buddha said, you know, attachments are the root of all suffering, old age, and death. So, if you have a major attachment, which is addiction, then you're going to have a lot of suffering. If you have a minor attachment, you're going to have mild suffering. And if you have nearly no attachment, you'll be indifferent. It's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't have it. It's like it's not a big deal. You know, if there's chocolate cake at this place, then that would be nice. And if there isn't, no big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. You see, so that's actually a very, very good spiritual space to be. You can have it, but you're not in any way attached or entrapped by it. Usually, the thing with addiction is the thing of, like, most people think they could be fine without it, but if you really want high levels of happiness, you know, anything that you're got a huge attachment to, there's great benefit in being able to maintain a stable sense of spirituality and spiritual consciousness or vibration, and not be tempted to make that thing an object of happiness. So one of the things you'll know, like alcohol, food, relationships. Now, if you can get over a relationship breakup and you still maintain a good sense of happiness, it meant there wasn't much attachment there. You could still have the relationship, but you were happy. It's like you can get over it quite rapidly and you're still happy. If you're like a relationship addict or a love addict or something, then you can go suicidal, you can feel a huge feeling of loss, feel that life is not worth living. Also exactly the same thing happens with alcohol and food. You know, sugar addiction is a big thing. Not to be able to have the sugar. You know, you say to someone who likes biscuits all the time, do you think you could give the sugar up? They go, yeah, no problem. But see if they can do it. You see, if they're addicted to sugar, okay, just if it's not going to be a problem, do it for a month and let me know how that goes. And if they're not a sugar addict, they'll do the month and they'll prove me wrong. But if they're not, they won't be able to do it. They'll be in the sugar straight away. Yeah, the other thing is alcohol. The people I meet often, it's like, well, it's not really a problem, and but then you know, there's a way of knowing for yourself as self-diagnosis is you just say like, oh, I'm not going to pick up a drink for a month as an experiment, as a spiritual experiment, just to see that I'm not extracting happiness and making this my God or a special object that is, and I'm getting a high from it, and therefore, because that's entrapment, that's attachment, and that will actually block you off from being happy consistently. So it'd be like, I've not had a problem with food now for 9 years because I worked the spiritual program, and the Course in Miracles, which is that donuts and sugar is not, it's kind of a neutral object for me. It's not that important, and even if, people actually do sometimes bring cakes here and stuff like that. It's not a problem for me at all, you see, because it's been neutralized. So it's not something that's positive or negative. But if I was a sugar addict and there were cakes, then that would be the only thing I'd remember from the whole group, you see. I wouldn't remember what anybody said. I'd just be fixated on the thing and be thinking, when are we going to eat the cakes, you see. So it's like, that would be it. And then, if people ask me, how was the group, I was just waiting for everyone to start eating the cake. That's all that would be in my consciousness. You see, because it has that magical special pull. Or if the same thing can happen in relationships. You're quite normal and suddenly a person appears and then suddenly everything falls away, you forget everybody and they're the center of attention. Same thing with alcohol as well. So, I'm not advising it. I'm quite happy for alcoholics to keep drinking and sugar addicts to keep having sugar. I haven't got anything on it. But, for me, from a spiritual point of view, for me, it's like letting go. You can still have those things, but if I'm having a ego attachment and an ego payoff, like a hit, I call it a hit. Every time I eat the donuts, I get a feeling of comfort. So it's not like my spiritual connection, vibration is such that it's a neutral thing. So I'm enjoying every present moment. I'm enjoying the company. But when it's like, oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious, I'm eating the donuts, now I feel comforted, that's actually disconnecting me from being happy consistently. Or if there's a person, I can make a person special, I can make donuts, sugar special, I can make alcohol. And usually the way people who go to the places I go to often hit rock bottom because they keep going to the thing to try and get happy, and it eventually stops working. There's early stage addiction. Early stage addiction is the most fun part, where you're still getting a lot of comfort and joy and happiness, but there seems to be no negative consequences yet. But with food addiction, with alcohol, if you keep doing that thing and getting more and more comfort, it escalates, and there's a point of no return. So hence, when you let go of if you decide to let go of an addiction, any addiction, whether it's sugar, alcohol, or a relationship, usually letting go of the specialness of it, and letting go of the specialness of the thing. Like that cake is as boring as this table, meaningless as this table, which is as meaningless as this light. So you let go of that fixation on that, and then when you you could call it bottom line, decide not to do it, and you have what's called, we call it in the fellowships, withdrawal period, a period where you're craving it, but you don't indulge in it, and you have to go through that. Like you're feeling out the attachment, like you're letting go of that embedded emotional craving, attachment, energy. So, often if you're a sugar addict, it can be very intense, you can be, or an alcoholic, or you would bottom line a relationship. I'm not going to contact her anymore. I'm going to let it go.
Okay.
So in that manner, you release things. And, if my goal is to be happy all the time, then I must get the happiness from within. And if I'm going to things to get extra happy, and actually that is why everyone becomes an addict, is because the thing that you get gives you a high, whenever I see that person, I feel happy. Eventually, it's like, if I see the person, I'm happy. If I don't see the person, I'm miserable. If I can have a drink, I'm happy because I feel connected and I'm enjoying life. But if I can't have a drink, I need a drink to just feel good and to connect. Or I need the food. I need to be full. My stomach needs to be full before I can connect with people. So it's like that. So it's an entrapment. But actually, if you're getting your happiness from within, then that stops that.